All right, we got one more example, and then I'll let you practice. And I highly recommend that you practice this, even though you may not be going on to Calc 2. I still recommend that you practice this because it really is giving you a lot of practice with the chain rule and the product rule and the quotient rule. Okay, in you probably need to practice that. And you can see in this next one we need to use the quotient rule, right? Because we have a quotient of two functions. So we're going to apply the quotient rule. Quotient rule. And we've got a low function and a high function, right? So I'm going to call u the high function, tangent of x, the numerator, and v is the low function. That's our denominator, x to the fifth. All right. So this is what I'm calling high, and this is what I'm calling low. And so the derivative of this function, just remember the quotient rule, is low d high minus high d low over low squared, right? So low is the denominator, x to the fifth, d high. So we want to take the derivative of tangent. Derivative of tangent is secant squared, right? So we're going to have the d high is going to be secant squared of x. And then minus high, so tangent of x, and then d low. Okay, so that's going to be times 5x to the fourth power. Okay, now be careful again when you write this so that it doesn't look like somehow that 5x to the fourth is part of the input to tangent. Okay, so you could even put parentheses around just to make sure you recognize those are separate. They're separate functions multiplied times each other. Okay. All right, and then we have to, that is all over low squared. Low is x to the fifth, so low squared is going to be x to the 10th. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, again, there's some simplifications. I see 4x, I see x to the fourth here, which, there's 4x's in both of these terms. So I could factor out an x to the fourth and then cancel with some of these x's in the denominator. But I'm just going to leave it as it is. Just leave it. Just leave it. Don't worry about simplifying it. I just want to make sure that you can use the quotient rule, right? So that's all I have for you. Really short little supplement to our discussion of derivatives of trig functions. And so there are a number of examples in the discussion questions for you to try. So I will see you in class.